Yeah, baby. This is the Asylum. This is Ray Rob, the Mad Hatter, and you know what I do. Well, I've done it again, folks. Yeah, it's not Christmas, but we are about to wrap up one of the coldest interviews that we've heard in a very long time. Well, you know, we do it every week, but each week it gets better and better and better, and now we have reached the pinnacle of what this thing is all about. And I got two twins on the phone, my brother. Now we hear there's a whole bunch of twins in the world, but ain't no twins like these two twins here, folks. And I am going to do it backwards as I normally do here on this show, because this is the zaniest and the craziest show ever. It's called The Asylum, and you guys are now prisoners. And so, as usual, I do things backwards. So I'm going to introduce these two guys. Now, we've got Scotty and Walter Scott in the building, because we always, over all the years, we always say Walter and Scotty. Okay, I don't know why, but we've always said it that way. Well, I'm going to do it backwards. Scotty, you the man today. Scotty, beam me on up.
Yes,
so we got Scotty Scott and Walter Scott in the building, and you guys know them as the Whispers. The Whispers, they're here with us, folks. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I know y'all know about that track that's kind of filling in the background, but these guys are R&B royalty. And I mean royalty. I think they got their crowns and capes on today with all kinds of jewels in them. All kinds of jewels, and those jewels are platinum and gold records. Okay, because you guys created a whole bunch of hits. Okay, y'all didn't just fool around with this thing. Y'all took it to the pinnacle, and I mean y'all took it to the top that an entertainer could ever reach, could ever think to endeavor to do. Okay, 15 top 10 hits, several number ones, Grammy nominations. I mean, gold records, platinum records. Come on, man. Again, we got Walt and Scotty in here, folks, and I'm going to cut right into this thing because there's a whole lot to these fellas, okay? And they're still cutting the rug. Can you imagine over 50 years later, these guys are still putting it down just as fresh and just as sweetly as they did back in the 60s when they first started doing this thing called entertaining us. And boy, what entertainers you guys are. Now, I know the story goes that you guys were taking all the talent shows in your town. Well, first off, let me back up. Where are you guys from?
We're from Los Angeles, California.
La la lay. So automatically you guys are thrust right into the forefront of seeing stars and this entertainment business right up front from the word go. From opening your very eyes, you are surrounded by all of this entertainment and music. And so I guess that has a whole lot to do with how you guys got started. But the story goes that you guys, the Scott twins, were tearing it up, winning all the talent shows, losing every now and then, but you guys were tops in your town. Okay, and so, again, guys, the story goes that there was another group that you guys were, I won't say in competition with, some other guys from the neighborhood, and they were the Eden Trio, correct?
Wow, man, you done your homework, brother.
Yeah, brother.
Well,
you're not playing.
Well, let me tell you this, man. My story is kind of like yours. I was spent a whole lot of time in Detroit in my youth, and so I was around this thing. I was around this thing called Motown. And
oh my God!
Listen, we live right. My grandmother stayed right around the corner. We often walked past there. We would actually see the artists. A lot of my aunts and uncles. Well, not only them. Everyone in Detroit was trying to get in Barry's face. So everyone that we knew was in a singing group. The Dramatics. Many of those members lived in the neighborhood.
Oh my God!
And
man.
so
Hey, say no more,
bro.
I see. Yeah, we identical, man.
It's in my blood, right? So just like you guys, I was just born into it. And then on the low side, I'm going to whisper this. My grandmother had an after-hours spot. And that music pumped,
wow.
and that music pumped.
Incredible.
Listen, man, and that music pumped 24/7. And
yes,
so,
sir. Yes, sir.
And so this stuff is just in my blood. But anyway, now
I understand it.
It's in my blood. So some of this stuff is just second nature. And again, I came up during your era. I'm 61, so I came up when you guys were really, really doing your thing. And so I know a lot about you guys. But again, I'm going to go back now. You guys were at a talent show. And there was another group in your town called the Eden Trio. And so backstage, you guys kind of, about to both go on, but you guys start kind of doo-wopping and playing around as a lot of singing groups do. And then you guys weren't jealous. Y'all weren't jealous of each other. Y'all said, wait a minute. We should put this together like Elmer's glue. Like Elmer's glue. We should stick this together. Okay? And thus was born the group The Whispers. Now, how did you guys come up with the name The Whispers?
Well, that was given to us by the little record label that we later went to. But just to go back a little bit from what you said, that talent show, the reason that we hooked up is because we were doing what you just said. Everybody wanted to be like Motown, the Temptations, the Four Tops, the Miracles. So Scotty and I were a duet, and the Eden Trio, they were three guys. And we really thought it would be great to hook up as a stand-up vocal group because at that time, as you say, and your grandmother had the night spot, she knew that was the thing back then. Stand-up vocal groups. The Temptations were the standard at that time. Mm-hmm. And that's who all the groups wanted to be like. So we hooked up, and as you say, we became the Whispers by going to a record label trying to get a deal. And when we auditioned for the guy who owned it, his name was Lou Bedell, Jewish guy.
Lou Bedell.
Yeah. Little record label called Dore Records.
Hold on, y'all got the atomic dog back there. George Clinton with y'all? One of y'all got George Clinton at the house. One of y'all got George Clinton with y'all.
That's my little. Yeah, I just got rid of it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we looked it up, man, and when we auditioned for Lou Bedell, he described our sound as like a whisper. He said it was very soft. He was very attracted to it. And he said, why don't we call you guys the Whispers? We didn't go there as the Whispers. We went there as five guys. We didn't have a name.
Okay.
So why don't we call you the Whispers? And we said, Mr. Bedell, let's give us this record deal. You can call us whatever you like.
I know that's right.
And that's how the name Whispers came about. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so now.
That's how it happened.
Wow. And now, did you guys, were you in school, like in the school choir or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I was in the choir. Scotty was in the band. Scotty played in the marching band, and I sang in the choir. But that was, as teenagers. We started, my dad, when we were 3 or 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
He bought me a saxophone, bought Scotty a drum set. So we started with music. Now, this is before even your generation.
Okay.
I'm talking about in the days of Miles Davis, Charlie Parker. My dad was into jazz.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
Of course, he wanted his two sons to be into jazz. And when he bought us these instruments, that's what he really wanted to do. But as would have it, as the generation went on, we came about, as you say, in a generation where R&B took over.
Yes, it did.
We wanted to be rhythm and blues. And he didn't like that, but it wasn't much he could do about it. He really wanted us to be like Ella Fitzgerald and Lambert Hendricks and Ross, the jazz people. And we would listen to the Temptations, and the Four Tops. And, like all young guys at that stage, I mean, rhythm and blues was like hip-hop is today, back then.
Right. Now,
so that's where we gravitated to.
Now, did you guys ever try to go over to Motown at all?
No, we were in Los Angeles, and Motown, if you remember, they later moved to Los Angeles.
Yes, they did.
And when they were there, we were already in the process of kind of entertaining in and around Los Angeles as a vocal group. But Los Angeles back then was really kind of limited in terms of if you weren't on the radio, you weren't recognized. They didn't, we were a local stand-up vocal group trying to be like the Temptations, so we couldn't get any headway, to be honest with you.
Well, like back in 1969, you guys recorded your first regional hit, The Time Will Come. Okay. And that was a regional hit, but you guys had been recording prior to that. But what was happening with those songs that they just didn't hit? Do you know?
They just didn't go national. The little record company that we were with, Dore Records, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because those, and I'm surprised you want to know the truth. Even you, man, you 61, I know you don't believe this, but you still a kid as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I know you don't believe that.
No, I believe it, man.
But well, you are, believe me, because the songs that you're speaking of, these are songs that our fans of today probably never even heard because we didn't get the exposure.
Okay.
We weren't big enough, and the label wasn't big enough. Back then, wasn't no internet. So the marketing that we really needed, the only thing we had is what God gave us, which was talent.
Okay.
The rest of it, we had to scuff and buckle for it, and that's what we basically did. To go to show you how bad it was, even when we got And the Beat Goes On, which is the biggest record that we ever had, we wasn't sure it was us.
Oh, really? Why not?
Man, listen, when the gold records came, when they came and gave us these gold records, it was another group in England called the Whispers. We said, wait a minute, you sure it ain't them? I mean, I know that sounds funny, but it's the honest God truth.
Wow.
So from 1980 to 87, the world changed for the Whispers. Our lives changed completely because from 1980 to 87, everything we did was either gold or platinum. But before that, everything was chitlin and hog feet.
Well, no, you know what? Let's go back because you mentioned the era of in the 60s.
Yes.
The 70s and 80s. We did have tunes like Olivia Lost and Turned Out.
Oh, Ice Cold song. That was Ice Cold. Who wrote that? Who wrote that?
But you know what? That didn't go gold.
It didn't? I
that
was sure that did.
Went gold.
It came close to gold, but it didn't. No.
You know, but then later on, as would have it, we're talking about 20 years later from the 60s to the 80s. We went in the studio in 1979-80 doing And the Beat Goes On. And we really were at the point of thinking, our parents had said to us, y'all got to come off this entertainment. You got to get some jobs with some benefits. That's what my mother said to us. Because we had been trying. It wasn't happening. You know, to get the hit record, and it just wasn't happening. And this is why, man, we tell young people this all the time. Don't give up on your dreams. You know, if you believe in yourself and you're serious, stick with it. We went into 1979 with that, as I said, our parents saying it's time to give it up. And the next thing we know, in 1980, by January of 1980, And the Beat Goes On was gold. First gold album that we ever had. And when it hit, little did we know, 4 months later, it was going to be double platinum.
Wow.
But what that showed us is that and we had been singing probably about 13 years prior to that. But what it really shows is by sticking with it, we really believed in ourselves.
Yes,
and
sir.
you never know when the hit is coming. You know what I'm saying? And I tell kids this all the time. We didn't think, we thought And the Beat Goes On was a smash, but we didn't know. And little did we know, man, it was the biggest record to date that we ever had, bigger than Rocksteady. People think Rocksteady is the biggest thing. No, And the Beat Goes On was a legitimate double platinum album for the Whispers in 1980.
But again, as you said, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it came with basically, man, the stick to itness that we had. We didn't shortchange ourselves. We always believed that once we got one hit, we could make it.
Because that was one question that I wanted to ask you, because folks don't realize how many years that people have been just studying and performing in smaller clubs, and then, you know, doing some regional things, and then maybe around their state and maybe the state next to them. Absolutely. But by the time you really hear a group, man, these guys are so seasoned, and you say, man, have you heard about these guys? They're overnight sensations. We like to say that in this business. Amazing? Ain't no such thing as no overnight sensation. He was doing this when he was 5. He's now 19. So he was doing this since he was 5. He's 19 now. This dude's seasoned, and he's ready to go. But
well, you know what, man? Let me tell you something. What you just said was said about the Whispers. I remember we laughed when people said, "Man, when we had And the Beat Goes On, they was, man, have you heard this new group, the Whispers and the Beat?" We was chucked. We said they must be crazy. But like you said, they had no idea. Before all of that, I could tell you ain't got enough time for us to tell you what we went through before that.
Oh. Well, not only that, if you know the history of Motown, the Supremes, man, they recorded 10, 15 records before they had Baby Baby.
Oh, yeah, listen.
You just put it right, man. Nobody gets a hit overnight. You know, now today it happened.
Yeah, but then there's no longevity.
But back then, man, these people they put time in before those hits came.
But see, now it's a hit, but there's no longevity. Okay, production is different. Record labels. Well, the record business is. If you thought it was a sham before, it's man. Okay, so
you're right. You're right,
you couldn't put it no better.
If you thought it was a sham before, okay, now I can count how many downloads you sold on me. I doubt it.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've always been lost when you're the recording artist. But the payoff is, and Mary Wilson said this, and she said it best, is that at the end of all of this, if you never made anything, it surely beat the little bit that you would have been handed if you never did any of it.
That's exactly right.
You're
Okay.
so right, man.
So you have to
True
look.
words are never spoken.
That's cold. When she said that, I'm like, okay, that's it even for
He
me.
was telling the truth, man.
That's it even for me. But here you guys are
Yeah.
50 some odd years later, and you're still as fresh as a daisy. Now, you guys were lucky enough to know a dude named Dick Griffey. Okay.
Absolutely.
You were lucky
wow.
enough to have that dude in your corner. He was once your manager, and then later on, he and Don Cornelius,
Yes,
the
sir.
great Soul Train guy, they came together and formed a not a radio station, a record label, Soul Train Records.
Solar. Soul Train
Well,
Records.
Soul Train
first,
Records was
then
first.
Went into Solar. That's
Yeah.
right.
After
You're
that-
right.
Now why did they break up? Because you're talking about two very headstrong dudes. What happened to
You
Soul
couldn't
Train
put it-
Records? What happened to that?
Well, you just used the word headstrong. Now let's go back. If you remember, Don Cornelius was a television guy.
Yes, sir.
He had a local show in Chicago called Soul Train. And he later, like Motown, moved to Los Angeles. Soul Train. We did the first Soul Train show in Chicago before it came to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
He met Dick Griffey, who at that time, Don was a television guy. Dick happened to be probably one of the biggest black promoters at that time.
Yes,
he was
sir.
still promoting,
Stevie Wonder,
Stevie Wonder.
Temptation. He was doing all of yeah.
So the two of them decided to hook up and form a record company called Soul Train Records. But then you just use the term headstrong. Here's two alpha males that hooked up with each other, and they both had ways that they thought things should be done, and neither of them were willing to weigh the other's opinion.
Okay.
So as a result, they ended up going their separate ways. And Soul Train Records became
Solar.
And man, I tell you this, we do these interviews, and I hate to say this, that was a shame, because had these two young guys had enough humility to stick together, they could have been the biggest thing in the black industry, in the black music industry that we ever saw, because they both were brilliant.
Yeah. When
But
you've
ego got in the way, man.
Yeah, you've got one guy that's the promoter. He knows how to really get it out there. And then you've got a guy that has the label, but the thing to get it out there, man. You can't beat that. He's got the talent. I've got the outlet. He's got the talent. I've got the outlet. Oh wow.
But there's a lesson. There's a lesson to be learned in that, because what you just said, you can't beat. You should not be able to beat that.
Mm-mm.
But what we learned, there's another word. It's called simply ego.
Uh-oh.
Will ruin everything. It is unbelievably. If these two guys, if there was no ego involved, they could have ruled the world. The two of them, because you just said it. They had the chemistry, everything that was needed. It came. One didn't have it, the other one did, and vice versa. But when ego stepped in there,
you got a mess.
That's the lesson that you can learn. Now that's the problem. That's what broke up the greatest duo as far as I'm concerned. But despite that, I mean, just show you how bad they were. Even what they started, as crazy as they were, look what happened with what they brought about. Lakeside, Shalimar.
On the Solar label, man.
On the Solar label.
Solar took over. You guys ran it for a great number of years. Shalimar, you guys, I mean, there were so many people on that label. Lakeside, like you said, somebody else out of Ohio.
Shalimar.
Somebody else out of Ohio.
Terry Lucas.
Just so much, man. So much. Now,
you're right.
Now, here's what I want to know. You guys make this thing look easy, but we all know that it ain't. Okay. Now, what has been the difficult part about you guys doing what you do? What's been the difficult part? If there is a difficult part.
Well, where we were lucky at, man, God gave us, and Dick Griffey said this before he died. He said, you guys probably going to be singing until your 80s. God gave me and Scotty voices. And little did we know, now true enough, we've never smoked, never drank, never did drugs. But here we are, 50 years later. I sing in the same key that I sung in when I did And the Beat Goes On. Today.
Because you normally have to change. You normally have to change that range. You normally have to come down the range or so.
Man, that's why we know that God has blessed us. Because there's no way, when you talk about longevity, we've been singing 54 years. And we tell our audiences all the time when we're on stage. It's two things. They made it possible, And we made it possible by being committed to what it is that we do.
Wow.
And here we are 54 years later, man, still singing. We still tour, just like we did in the 80s, today. And when you come to see our show, there ain't nothing in it false. You're hearing us sing. You're hearing an 8-piece band play rhythm and blues. Nothing's pre-recorded. So, man, it's a blessing. We just the luckiest guys to be able to do what we do. We would have done this for nothing. We came in this, like young kids. When we found out that they could pay us for something that we love to do, we thought we'd die and go to heaven. Man.
I hear you, man. I know what that's all about.
Yeah.
Now, but not only did you have luck, because some of this is luck, but you guys were skilled, but you guys had skills. But you guys work with some of the coldest producers there ever were, okay?
That's where the luck came in.
Talk about Leon Silver. Talk about Leon Silvers.
Boy, let me tell you something. Before I say that, let me tell you once again, brother, you done your homework.
You sure have. I'm
so impressed, man. We do these interviews all the time, man, and we have to teach them the history. You right along with us today, man. That's impressive. Let me tell you that.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
I'm telling you, man. We met Leon Silvers when he was in his prime, man.
Okay.
He was learning from Motown. And lo and behold, Leon Silvers, the Whispers, who later went on to produce Shalimar, Solar Records, this little small label, Lakeside. They came from Dayton, Ohio. All these young people ended up at Solar Records, and Dick Griffey, the greatest element that he ever had, he let all these young people be themselves.
And that's the best way to do it. Let them do their thing.
And man, he would come in, he would listen to it. He didn't try to dictate what your style was. He let you be who you are. And as a result, the rest is history, man. All those hits that came out of Solar became hits because Dick Griffey was free enough. And he had an ego in one way, but in the other way, he didn't. He let all these people come in, man, Midnight Star. All these young people.
Babyface, L.A.
Reid, all of these people there together, man, creating with these skills and growing as they were in that process. So, man, it was a blessing. That's all I can say, man.
See, Dick Griffey to me was the black, now I've gone blank on my man's name.
Berry Gordy?
No, the white side, Whitney's guy.
Yeah.
Clive Davis. Yeah.
That's exactly who he was.
He was the black Clive Davis. I mean, the
That's
dude was
absolutely right. That's
connected.
absolutely right.
Because you've got to have that ear. He knew a hit. You've got to have that ear. And he just knew a hit when he heard it. Dick Griffey knew a hit when he heard it. And he was able to take those hits, put them on the radio, get it out there, get it to radio, get it to television, get it out there, man. And as you know, again, he just took artists and just made them stars just like Barry did. Now,
yes, he did.
Now, some other guys that you didn't work with, that you did work with, if that sounds crazy, the great Leon Gamble and Kenny Huff. Now, you were supposed to work with those guys, but you didn't work directly with them, but you worked with their production teams or something, correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay, okay.
We were in Philadelphia. Now,
man, I tell you, well, hold on just 1 minute. Let me say this. I know you probably sick of hearing us say this, man, but you know what, partner? You need to be with us, man. I cannot believe, hey, you know what? You asking us, but I don't know why you can tell us. You know the history better than we do. I can't believe it.
You need a publicist?
Well, let me explain
you need a publicist?
What happened.
You need a publicist, call me.
This happened when Dick Griffey was managing us. We were paying our dues, going around the country in a van, but we were signed to Chess Janus. And Chess Janus, like most record companies, wanted to hook up with the big producers, so they sent us to Philadelphia to work with Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff.
Okay.
What we didn't know is that you didn't get to work directly with Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff. They had a slate of producers that they assigned you to work with. So we never really got to work with them directly. And tunes like Living Together in Sin, Mother for My Children, these producers,
Norman Harris,
mostly Norman Harris, the Mother, Father, Sister band that was out, they were producers that all were in that big orchestra. And so that's who we ended up working with. And those tunes basically Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff didn't market and distribute those. Chess Janus did.
Okay.
But Chess Janus, as a small company that liked R&B, wasn't great at marketing R&B.
Okay.
So what happened with those songs, they were all marginal, to be honest with you. Good songs, and we got some airplay, and as you said, we got to work with Kenny Gamble, but not them in particular. We worked with their organization, and that's how that came about. So most of these songs, the one Living Together in Sin, it got somewhat of a big distribution kind of hit. But for most of them, Bingo, Mother for My Children, most people never
Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, we sung all those songs.
I close my eyes, I place my fingers, place my bet, something like that.
That's right.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Yeah. Close my eyes,
Yeah,
cross my fingers, place my bet. Bingo. Okay.
Yeah, right. That's
Listen,
right.
that was my first Whispers hit. I was crazy about that song. Again,
isn't that amazing?
I don't know what
amazing?
I don't know what
crazy,
I don't know what year that was, but I know early 70s. I know.
Middle 70s.
Yeah, it was early 70s.
I close
Absolutely
my eyes.
right.
Yeah. Place my finger, place my bet. Bingo.
Yeah.
That was my cut, man. Bingo. So listen, man, you guys have done this for so long, but let me ask you, this is one of the most important questions that people like to know about, folks. Okay, now, how hard is it to keep a good, solid relationship, being that it's hard for a normal person to keep one? How hard is it being a world famous entertainer? I mean, it's hard for me to do one, and I ain't nobody. How hard is it having a real a good solid, and we can all have ones that ain't solid, but a good solid relationship from someone that's never home, women all around the world screaming your name? How hard is it, my brothers, to do it?
It's hard, but you know what? We were very lucky. Here's the way I answer that question, because I look at people, young people today acquire hits before they're 20 years old.
Okay.
Before you're 20 years old, you have not fully developed. You're immature, and you got all this success, and you don't know what to do with it. We were very lucky in that our success didn't come until we were almost 30 years old. We were in our late 20s.
Okay, wonderful.
So thank God, the mistakes that were made, they weren't as harmful, because we made them too. I mean, believe me, when you're 21, 22 years old, the last thing you want to do is get millions of dollars in your pocket, and you're not educated, you're young, and you're immature, and can't nobody tell you nothing. That's a bomb waiting to go off.
Right.
And we didn't have it today all the time.
Yeah, and we didn't have financial literacy things around as much as now. See, the failed artists of yesteryear saved some of the people from those same pitfalls today.
That's exactly right.
I've never heard of a good recording contract. I've never heard of a good contract, and I mean never.
You're right. You came up there with right. So they don't exist. They don't exist. No, you're right.
It's actually not even. It's actually not even made for you guys to win. It really isn't.
That's exactly right.
No, you're right. You're right.
And if you don't know better, oh man, we in this limousine. Oh man, this nice hotel with the marble floors. We got a fountain in the room.
Oh and by the time you realize it's too late, you done been beat. Now the thing that gets me today is that the same thing goes on with some of these young acts today. What amazes me is how these young acts today, their priority is like tennis shoes and shit. I don't understand that.
Right. And you're right. Gold teeth.
Maybe you could explain that.
Gold teeth.
No, not all of them.
No, I can't. I can't explain it.
Where they benefit, where we help them, but not all acts are like that. Look at Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Yes, sir.
These are two young people with skills and education. At a young age, they did know what to do, but they have the platform to do it. We didn't have the platform to even do it. As you just said, the contracts that we were given, you were beat before you started. You know that.
Again, like I said earlier, Mary said that in the end, when it's all over, said and done, if you would have never, ever done it, it was more than a little slice of life we would have gotten if you never did it. So a lot of it is,
He's right. He was absolutely right.
And that made me feel better about my career with this stuff, man. I've been doing radio for 30, 40 years. Worked for Motown, Aerosmith, and Virgin as a photographer. Worked at countless radio stations. And in the end, you're like, well, I had some fun. I don't know what I did with that money. No, but then you look around, and you're like, well, there's a camera, there's 4 or 5 keyboards, some guitars, and plenty of film. I guess that's where my money went. But I had fun. I have no regrets. I promise you, there are no regrets. And as you see, I'm still having fun, just like you guys are having fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, man, no regrets, no regrets whatsoever, man. Again, if I worked at some federal building or something like that, I would have no memories except going down there, getting on the bus every day, and coming home to that paycheck. And that wasn't enough for me.
You're right.
That wasn't enough for me. So I've sacrificed, like you guys did. I sacrificed a lot to even be in this business. I know I missed a whole lot of those. I missed a bunch of those kids' birthdays and family holidays. I was on the road, bro. I was on the road and had a great time doing it. And had a great time doing it. So you guys did it 99,000 times deeper than I did it. But what I want to do is thank you guys, man, for giving us all this wonderful music. All these songs, songs of love, songs of life. Now, you guys are going to be in Akron at the Akron Civic Theater on the 23rd. Invite these folks out to the show. Invite these folks out to the show.
Oh, we're inviting everybody to come out and go through this. What we do is we start as a history, man, because we start at the beginning and bring it right on up to today. And as you say, man, we love doing it. Our fans are the greatest asset that we've ever had. They followed us for all these 50 years and over. And we can't thank them enough, brother. We can't thank you enough either.
Oh, yeah, I was getting ready to say, brother, it was a blessing, a stroke of God today to put us with a young man. I can't believe you, man. I mean, you're incredible yourself. And like my brother said, we want to thank you, man, for giving us your platform to do this. And we do not take this for granted, brother. I can't thank you enough, man.
Hopefully you can get to Akron to see us, man. We'd love to meet you in person.
Listen, I'll make sure that it happens. I'll talk to Mike. I'll have Mike put me on your guest list. All you got to do
is come. You taken care of. Just let Mike know what you want to do, and it's done.
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. But that's where love is found, bro. Right in the hearts of the whispers, y'all. Right in the heart of the whispers. Right now, Ray Rob got them tied up down here.
Right on, man.
They may not make it to the show. See, you guys don't know about the show. It's called the ASYLUM. And after I do these interviews, I keep the people locked up and I tie them up. I'll keep them in my back room. And whenever I want to hear a song, I'll pull one or two y'all out. I just put Layla Hathaway in there a couple of weeks ago. I got Jeffrey Osborne. Just got that Jeffrey Osborne back there. Yeah, so y'all added to the collection, man. So I appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, listen.
Thank you so much, done. Thank you so much, man.
Listen, man.
You, brother.
I will catch you guys.
Looking forward to meeting you.
I will surely look you guys up, man. We got this going on, man. But I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Again, folks, let's give a big round of applause to the Scott twins. And again, I'm going to do it backwards. We got Scotty and Walter in here, y'all.
You got it.
We got Scotty and Walter in here, y'all.
God bless you, brother.
Listen, man,
God bless you, brother.
I'll see you guys at the show. All right?
All right,
man.
Take care, brothers. Y'all take care now. All right.
Bye-bye now.
All right, y'all. And that's it, Ray Rob. And this has been another ASYLUM production. Peace. I'll catch y'all later.